What's going on, guys? It's Cimoooooooo. So today I'm bringing to you a video on the world premiere TCG exclusive archetype, Rock. This is something that a lot of people have been looking forward to. This is going to be released in Blazing Vortex, which is only a few weeks away from now, and people are getting super hyped every time there's a new TCG exclusive archetype. We think of some of the broken ones we've had in the past, like Burning Abyss and Spiral, and we hope that it's going to be as good as that. So we're going to go ahead and head on over. This is going to be courtesy of Team Samurai X1, who did the official reveal for this. That's where I have all these still images pulled up here, and we're just going to go through some initial impressions and see how good this archetype is going to be. So first up, we have Rock Ordeal. So it is an Earth level 4 warrior effect monster, 1700 attack and defense. If your Earth warrior monster battles after damage calculation, you can add one Rock card from your deck to your hand, except another copy of Ordeal. Then all Rock monsters you currently control gain 200 attack until the end of your opponent's turn. Okay, so starting off, this is a little bit rocky, and that wasn't meant to be a pun, but I mean, battle tricks, is this where this archetype's gonna go? I mean, it is a Rhoda, to be fair. Well, it just has to battle, right? It doesn't say it has to actually attack another monster, so that's good. If it attacks directly, I think you would still be able to actually get the search there. So, I mean, it's a Rhoda, right? I mean, it's 1700 attack, it's fine. I think that's like okay if there's going to be some sort of battle trick. If they all do that, that actually might not be too bad then. If this card is sent from your monster zone to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you can special summon a level 5 or higher Rock monster from your hand or deck. You can only use each effect once per turn. Okay, so we need to actually see what the level 5 or higher is. It does kind of suck that it has to be your opponent that is the one to send it from the monster zone to the graveyard. To be fair, it just has to be sent, so that means if it gets destroyed, that means if it gets sent to the graveyard, stuff like shuffling back into the deck like with Nightmare Unicorn will be able to bypass this, but at least they do have a way to recover themselves. So it's an interesting starter, but I mean, starter might be a little bit of a stretch because it does have to attack, so you can't exactly do this on turn 1. Next up is Rock Gakto. So it is a Earth level 4 warrior effect, 1900 attack and defense. These are Rhoda targets, so that's also pretty good. If an Earth warrior monster is normal summoned to your field, you can special summon this card from your hand. Okay, that's pretty good. If this card is sent from your monster zone to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you can special summon a level 5 or higher Rock monster from your hand or deck. You can only use that effect once per turn. So that's like okay. Again, it's an extender, so if you just start off with the Fordia, then you can special summon Gaktos. Then if they both get killed by something, you can like special summon out a level 5 or higher. So that's like not bad. This is just an extender. This is like a pretty fine extender too, considering it's like 1900 attack. No like power boost or anything. No battle tricks. I think this is so far like okay. Next up, we have two cards as a matter of fact. We have Rock Skyler, which is a Subterror Nemesis warrior's mom, as well as Rock Ordeal. So Skyler is a level 6 Earth warrior effect monster, 2200 attack and defense, gains 100 attack for each monster your opponent controls. During a battle phase in which your Earth warrior monster battles, as a quick effect, you can target a level 5 or lower warrior monster in your graveyard, special summon it. Also, all Rock monsters you currently control gain 200 attack until the end of your opponent's turn. Also, for the rest of this turn, you cannot attack directly with level 5 or lower monsters. Oh, come on. This was actually like really close to being good. Oh, that's unfortunate. Okay, so here are the problems with this. First of all, this is a level 6, and so the only way to really get this out is if you have a way to, let's say, have your opponent specifically pop one of these two that you're going to special summon this. Because are you really going to tribute summon this out? I think that seems a little bit optimistic, and I just don't see that happening. The fact that it has a graveyard recovering effect is really cool, but again, the fact that you can't attack your opponent directly, if anything, I was thinking this was going to be like a very aggro battle deck, right? Where the fact that if this whole deck's whole purpose is to like just attack in, just be aggressive as possible and just try to win through like sheer power, then that's like okay, but I don't know. This just seems super, super held back, and this just, that's like too balanced, I feel like. Then we have Rock Ordeal. Let's not give up hope yet. It's an Earth level 5 warrior effect, 2100 attack and defense. If you control no monsters, or all monsters you control are warrior monsters, you can normal summon this card without tributing. I wish it was special summon, but I guess. If your Earth warrior monster battles after damage calculation, you can send one Earth warrior monster from your deck to the graveyard, except Ordeal. Then all Rock you control gain 200 attack attack until the end of your opponent's turn. You can only use this effect once per turn. So, okay, one of your War Rocks battles, you get to Foolish Burial something, which is nice. I mean, that synergizes with Skyler, because then Skyler can, like, bring something back, and he doesn't have to be the one that's attacking. It just has to be an Earth Warrior specifically. So, like, that's okay. I mean, that's, like, fine, I guess. Like, Foolish Burial for setup. Maybe if there's a monster reborn in the archetype in the spell department, that could also come up. Again, though, like, there's no real easy way to get this out, right? You have to actually wait for one of your War Rocks to be killed by an opponent's card effect, because this card doesn't special summon itself out. Neither does Skyler. So, I don't know. I wish this was, like, more swarmy, I guess. That's, like, for this type of, like, battle-focused archetype, that's really what I feel like this sort of deck needs, and I'm just not seeing it so far. Let's go on to the next one, though. It is War Rock Basilio. So this is an ultra rare, as a matter of fact, because notice by the gold text, is an Earth level 8 warrior effect monster, 2700 attack and defense. I'm not sure if the fact that they all have, like, the same attack and defense is going to matter if there's any card that synergizes with that, but just an interesting observation. So, during a battle phase in which your Earth warrior monster battles, quick effect, you can activate this effect. This card can attack directly this turn. Also, all War Rock monsters you currently control gain 200 attack until the end of your opponent's turn. Okay, so a 2700 that can possibly attack your opponent directly. That's pretty cool. I mean, that's a really, really strong effect, because, like, 3k, let's assume it's like 3k, because after you get the buffs from some of the other War Rocks, it wouldn't be unrealistic to think that this thing would be over 3000 attack. That's a pretty sizable amount that's going directly to the face, but again, it's going to need a little bit more than that. So while this card is in your hand or graveyard, when your Earth Warrior monster is destroyed by battle, you can special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use each effect once per turn. Why is this restricted by battle? Oh my god. If this was like any time that one of your War Rocks gets destroyed and sent to the graveyard, or actually, you know what? It should have been, if it's just sent to the graveyard, it should have had this clause right here, sent from your monster zone to the graveyard. I think if it had that, this card would be infinitely more powerful, because in that way, it's not restricted specifically by battle. It's so rare that stuff actually gets killed by battle these days. And you can only use it once per turn, so like you can't even summon out multiple Basilios. This is the boss monster? I don't know, man. That's just... It feels so fair. It feels way too fair. All right, so moving on to the spells, it looks like here we have War Rock Mountain. This is a secret rare. Notice here by this text color. Secret rare field spell. That might not be... This might be the card that kind of brings it all together. Let's hope for the best. When this card is activated, you can add one War Rock monster from your deck to your hand. Okay, well, that's already good. It's a +1 on activation. Anytime you have a field spell that does this, that's really powerful. That's something that they typically avoid in field spells now, because they've learned from Trickstar Light Stage, Spiral Resort. We've seen this in the past, so yeah, that's really, really strong. At the start of the battle phase, if you control no monsters, or all monsters you control are warrior monsters, it doesn't say Earth Warrior, so that's good, you can special summon one War Rock monster from your hand with a different name than the cards you control. If your warrior monster would be destroyed by battle, you can send this card to the graveyard instead. So effectively, if you have Mountain plus any of the level 4s, right, you can activate Mountain to add anything, and then you can go activate Mountain, and this card will actually allow you to special summon any of the War Rocks. So you can special summon the big ones. You can summon Skyler, you can summon Orpus, you can summon Basilios. So this is a way to cheat out the bigger level War Rocks, and that's what this deck needs. I mean, the cards can't do it themselves, which kind of sucks. Terraforming's also limited, so your ways to getting to this are limited, but however, the fact that you generate advantage and then can immediately put that advantage to good use to then get some more presence on the board is actually pretty good. And then the fact that you can send this to the graveyard to then like protect one of your War Rock cards, I think is actually kind of neat. The weird thing about this though is that you kind of want them to get killed in a way, because then you can trigger Gakto, so you can trigger Fortia, but then the field spell protects them from that. They do have to be destroyed by battle specifically, so again, that's just another restriction that kind of holds this card back a bit, because yes, battle does play a role in Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's not as like prominent as it was back in like the early 2000s, you know, just as an example. So very strong field spell. I mean, this is a super, super strong card. It's a great starter card. It's a great extender on top of that, just because you're able to then take whatever you have and then special summon it out to the field. It allows you to get the big guys out, which is a problem. So, I mean, this card's good. This card is good. The archetype itself, that's still up for debate. Next up is War Rock Ordeal. So, continuous spell. You can only control one War Rock Ordeal. When this card is activated, place 3 counters on it. When your War Rock monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends sends it to their graveyard, you can remove one counter from this card, and if you do, draw one card. If the last counter has been removed by this effect, send this card to the graveyard. Okay, this is a very interesting card. So this in a way reminds me of Six Samurai United. It's obviously not the same card, but it's a continuous spell that allows you to draw cards. What's cool about this is that this card is effectively a +2 in terms of card advantage if you are able to actually kill 3 monsters and trigger this 3 times. I would say your opponent's probably going to have a way to stop that most of the time. I mean, look how many cards there are that can either negate this card before it would even activate, or just flat out destroy it or banish it before it has a chance to trigger. Dried Ink, Cosmic Cyclone, I mean, the list goes on. So there's a lot of things there. However, this is a cool little card to just help you draw deeper into the deck. For a sort of aggressive deck like this, and if you're just vomiting monsters out onto the field, a card like this is nice because it allows you to replenish your resources and allow you to keep the pressure on your opponent. The biggest issue I have with this card is think about the turn 1 boards that are created in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Think about the types of monsters you're having to stare down, like a True King of All Calamities or a Vanity's Ruler, or just big, large monsters that have like built-in negations. Red Eyes Dark Dragoon is another one. How are you going to be able to kill these things in battle? Like, how does this deck kill a True King of All Calamities in battle? I'm not seeing it. I suppose you could get Basilios up by a couple of values here to over 3k, but even then, you also have stuff that can actually interact with these cards that will actually negate their effects. So when you throw that into the mix, I'm failing to understand how these types of cards are going to actually be able to overrun the other cards that you're going to predominantly see in the metagame. Again, look at like stuff like Eldritch. Eldritch the Golden Lord can be up to like 3,500 if he uses effect. So it's possible, I guess, but I don't know. Just like the battle reliance on this archetype, I think is going to be the thing that holds it back. And then here's another card. Reinforcement of the Army's Troops. Okay, I love that this is a throwback. The fact that they are bringing a new Rhoda into the game, this is cool. So it's a continuous spell. When an attack is declared involving your warrior monster, you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower warrior monster from your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. Okay, that synergizes with the archetype, right? It's a way for you to get more monsters onto the field. They do have to be warriors, and you do have to declare an attack. Ooh, I don't know about that. I mean, yeah, it's good, but again, you have to go to the battle phase before you're even allowed to get a card onto the field. This card doesn't generate you any advantage either. This is just using the advantage you already have and is just getting you more board presence rather than card advantage, which depending on the deck that you're playing might be okay. This is generic though, so like any warrior deck could potentially play this. I don't know, this card's like okay, it's like fine, but it doesn't really do a whole lot like when you first activate it, and you really, each individual card in Yu-Gi-Oh! Just has to be so powerful on activation that it's really hard to justify playing something like this, in my opinion. And then we have, oh, I guess this is like other reveals here. I guess this has nothing to do with the War Rocks, but here we have Materia Actor Gigaboros and Materia Actor Gigadra. Okay, I'm actually going to zoom in on these a bit here just so we can get a better look. Dark level 3 dragon effect, 1,000 attack and defense. You can discard a card, special summon a level 3 normal monster from your hand or deck, or if you discarded a normal monster to activate this effect, you can special summon a Materia Actor monster instead. You can only use this effect once per turn, and you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except Xyz monsters. So this card's rather interesting. It's sort of like Tour Guide, although let's be honest, it's not Tour Guide because you have to discard and you can only bring out a normal monster. Best case scenario, it's another Materia Actor depending on what the other ones do, but at the very least, you're getting a free rank 3 worth of fodder out of the exchange, and that's okay. I mean, you're also able to mitigate the discard cost, right? Because if you're playing this in like a rank 3 turbo style of deck, you can discard a Burning Abyss card, you can discard a Phantom Knight. Those might generate you some sort of advantage, so that way you kind of break even on the exchange overall, and you get a rank 3 for your trouble. So Gigaboros is a rank 3 that's generic, so that's pretty cool. So at the very least, Gigadra is just a way to get you another rank 3 onto the field, and any of those like 3-axis decks might actually want to look at this. So next up is Materia Actor Gigaboros. It is a Dragon Xyz effect, dark rank 3, 500 attack and defense, 2+ level 3 monsters. So it is generic, but you can also use more than just 2, and it gains 500 attack and defense for each card in your hand. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. You can detach a material from this card, add 1 Materia Actor monster from your deck to this card as material. Okay, that's interesting. And then during your opponent's main or battle phase as a quick effect, you can add 1 card attached to this card to your hand. Wow, okay, so if you were to make Materia Actor Gigaboros. Let's say I said Tour Guide earlier, so let's keep with that theme. So if you go Tour Guide, summon out a 3, make this, then if it gets around to your opponent's main phase, you could actually use Gigaboros' effect and add Tour Guide back to your hand, so you actually have a follow-up play for next turn. That's actually pretty strong, because in that way you basically have a constant just flow of resources that you're able to have at your disposal to make sure you have a threat on the following turn. We don't know what the other Materia Actor cards do yet, at least because this is the last set of photos that we have. So if we get more support for this archetype and there's some stronger Materia Actor cards that you're going to want to equip to this, then the fact that you can just immediately add them to your hand, I think the big downside to this is that you have to wait to your opponent's main phase. And again, if you're going second, your opponent can interact with this so easily and make it so that you're not going to get that card back. So you might lose out on some advantage there, and that's one of the problems. But it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. Overall, when it comes to the War Rocks in general, I don't know if I'm super convinced. The reason I say that is because they just feel too fair. It feels like an archetype that is too reliant on the battle phase to be able to really generate any sort of advantage. I feel like this deck just needs a lot more just firepower at its disposal to be able to be this sort of battle-reliant archetype in 2021. I think the foundations are there, that if they got some like really broken cards like in the next set, Lightning Overdrive, then maybe that would be enough to take it over the top. The field spell is super solid. The continuous spell is not bad, but you need to have a way to be able to like negate the effects of your opponent's monster, so that way your cards can actually get in and attack over their threats, so you can actually draw the cards off of the ordeal. The cards themselves just feel like they're a little bit too fair, and maybe we'll see what happens in the future. Typically in the past, when we get these TCG exclusive archetypes, the second wave of support is what can absolutely break them. Look at Burning Abyss when it comes to cards like Virgil and Fire Lake. Look at Cosmo and Dark Destroyer. It's not uncommon that we have a first wave of TCG exclusive support that's like okay, and then the second wave is what really takes it over the top. But this archetype is going to need a lot of work. You have this heavy reliance on the battle phase. I almost feel like you want a blind second with this deck, and then you can play cards like, you know, Lightning Storm and Dark Ruler No More and Kaijus, and that way it kind of helps you ensure that these battle phase tricks are actually going to work, which is where the crux of this deck lies, and allows you to generate advantage and keep that up on your opponent. I think that might be the direction you have to go. This archetype just needs cards to be able to go second, and maybe we'll see that in the following wave of support in Lightning Overdrive. Who knows? We'll have to see. Overall, I mean, it just feels too fair at the moment. I think that there's potential, but it's going to need some extraordinary support in the future if we want to see this be competitively relevant. But guys, that's going to do it for the War Rock reveal. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Be sure to like the video as always. Subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. And if you found this video informative, consider supporting me on Patreon and receiving early exclusive one-day access to the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! And the Yu-Gi-Oh! Progression series. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next time.